morning and welcome to the Africa Weekly Talk. Today we're going to talk about something that is going on the buzz on the internet about the discovery of gold ore deposits by Ugandan government. The president of Uganda, Museveni, talked about this some weeks ago about discovery of gold ore deposits. And according to his estimates, these gold ore deposits, it's estimated at about close to $13 trillion. Man, $13 trillion. That's what we are talking about. $13 trillion. So people are talking about it on the internet, some people making jokes about it that there's going to be a civil war in Uganda because of these deposits and all that stuff. That's funny. But anyway, we're talking about $13 trillion. Now, the question I have is this. What is Uganda going to do about this gold ore deposits? Is it going to be in the hands of the government, or are they going to turn it over to private investors and create a quasi-private government mining companies? And are they going to sell the royalties all, or are they going to sell them in bits? We're going to talk about all of that. But let me get straight to this. Was I surprised when I heard the news? Yes, I was surprised, but not too surprised. Because if you all know, Africa is the richest continent on earth. Okay? It is the richest continent on earth. By far. It's not even close. Africa controls about 30 to 45% of the world's mineral resources. The world's mineral resources, about 30 to 45% of all the mineral resources in this world, you find them in Africa. It might be even more. It's no wonder. That's the first continent, the first place God created for man. So it's no wonder. That's why you have all these mineral resources there. And also God gave us the weather, 24/7 weather of sun, good for farming and everything. But unfortunately, with all that said, Africa is also the poorest continent in terms of its development and citizens. So the question I beg to ask today is, why is this so? We are the wealthiest continent by far, yet the people of Africa are the poorest. But the good thing about this discovery is that this discovery happened under an independent Ugandan country. Unlike the previous discovery of gold in Ghana, diamonds in Sierra Leone, gold in South Africa, gold, diamonds, cobalt in DRC, Democratic Republic of Congo, and Mozambique, Zimbabwe, all over Africa. The difference is that at that time, most of these African countries, if not all of them, were under colonization. So with the discovery of these mineral resources, the African governments and its people did not benefit from any of these mineral resources. The colonial masters, England, France, Belgium, Germany, Italy, to name a few, benefited from all these resources. Look at the gold carriage that the Queen of England sits in. Look at it. Where in the world did she get that gold carriage from? It came from Ghana and other African countries. That is why English pound sterling, the economy of England, is guaranteed by their gold reserves. That's the bottom line. It's guaranteed by their gold reserves. So that is the big difference between today in Uganda's discovery of gold or deposits And Ghana and Sierra Leone, Nigeria, and all the other African countries, discovery of these same natural resources 50, 60, 80, 100 years ago. Because this time, it's under an independent Ugandan country. So it is up to the people of Uganda and the government of Uganda to harness these gold ore deposits, to create very good investment for its citizens. But if you look back to 100 years ago when Africa was under colonization, most of these natural resources were controlled by the colonial masters. The English, the French, the Germans, the Italians, they controlled them. So basically, that's why if you look at most of the gold mining companies in South Africa, in Ghana, in Zambia, Mozambique, all over Africa, Belgium, Congo, are all European mining companies. Because the European masters control the royalties to these resources, and they gave it to their companies in Europe. So the reason why we are still poor, even though we are natural resources, we are still the wealthiest continent. The reason why we are still poor is because we don't control these resources. We have the gold, we have the diamonds, we have the bauxite, we have the manganese, we have the cobalt. You have all these minerals. But because most of these minerals were discovered at the time of colonization, we still don't control the minerals because they are in the hands of the companies that the colonial masters gave these royalties to. So basically what we are getting is peanuts from these companies because all these minerals are controlled by these colonial masters companies that they gave these royalties to. So you hear Africa has all these mineral resources, we have all of them, but at the end of the day, the money, the resources does not come to us. We don't benefit from it. Because when they mine this gold, like companies like De Beers, Anglo Gold, when they mine this gold in South Africa, in Ghana, in Angola, wherever in Africa, they send these minerals to Europe, their home countries. They send them to their home countries. And then they leave just a little bit of foreign exchange in African countries. So at the end of the day, we have been blessed by God with all these natural resources, but we have not been benefiting from them. That's why when I heard the news about Uganda, I was very, very happy for the people of Uganda. Because this time, it happened under an independent Ugandan country. So there is no excuse. There are no excuses to be made. You control the resources from the very time that you discovered you have these gold ore deposits. From that moment, now you have to make the decisions as to who you are going to sell the royalties to, what percentage of that royalties are going to go to these companies, how these deposits are going to be developed. Now, all is in the hands of the government of Uganda. And now the question is it going to be in the hands of this same corrupt Ugandan government? What is it going to do for the people of Uganda? Because with these natural resources, estimated to worth about $13 trillion. $13 trillion, my friends. The country of Uganda should be able to use these resources to develop that country, to diversify that country's economy, to create an environment where every Ugandan child born should be able to go to school in Uganda for free. all the way from kindergarten through high school and to trade school. And maybe universities, I would say the government should subsidize that one too. For every Ugandan citizen. With that much of money? $13 trillion? We are not kidding. I mean, that's a lot of money. $13 trillion. That's what we are talking about. But okay, what are they supposed to do? I mean, the people of Uganda. I mean, like I said, you see, the African governments have been so corrupt to the extent that now I don't even know where to start from on this particular issue. I don't know what Museveni is going to do, because this reserves, if he's not going to divert some of these oil reserves to his cronies and his corrupt friends and family members, and if he's really interested in developing that country, then the first thing I would suggest the people of Uganda is to set up a trust embedded in their constitution, that nobody should be able to change that trust, that reserves belongs to the people of Uganda. And everything that comes out of that reserves, in terms of the royalties, everything has to go to the people of Uganda. Period. There's no ifs and buts about that. But the most important thing also is that even if the government is going to sell royalties, I don't think they have to sell royalties to 100% private companies. I think the government should create its own mining, quasi-autonomous government private mining companies. That is my suggestion, my opinion. Quasi-autonomous private mining and government companies. What I mean by that is private mining companies will come into a partnership with the government of Uganda. But these companies will be run 100% by the private entities. The only thing the private entities are going to do is that at the end of the year, they pay into the government coffers the dividends that have come out of these mining companies. These companies have to be run as a private entities. I don't want any government involvement in terms of managing these companies. The CEOs, directors of these companies should never, read my lips, never be appointed by the government in question. Never should any government in Uganda, thereby whether it's the Museveni government or the government after Museveni or whatever, should appoint any directors to these quasi-autonomous private government mining companies. Why? Because that is where corruption thrives most. When government creates these huge bureaucracies, and then it becomes that's where crony capitalism thrives best. So whoever is in power uses the government authority to push their agenda, to push their people, corrupt people into these agencies. And that's where they steal the money of the people. So to make it more effective and transparent, it's going to be like a shareholding. The government is going to hold shares. Let's say 50% shares in the company, or let's say 60%. The private companies owns 40%, but it's run by the private company. At the end of every year, the private company pays the government its dividends. So the government has no business in terms of managing that mining company. This will be the best way for Ugandans to go. And that's the best route for them. Don't allow any government to appoint the directors or managers or members of the board onto this company that is going to be created. It should be solely run as a private entity. Okay? If there is already a model that I can speak of, which is, let's say, it's not a mining company, but it's a business. So I'll use the Ethiopian Airlines. The Ethiopian Airlines belongs to the people of Ethiopia, but it's run as a private entity. Look at it when the COVID happened. There's only one of the few airlines in the world that were profitable. And Ethiopian Airlines was one of them. Because the government of Ethiopia does not participate into the day-to-day activities of that Ethiopian Airlines. South African Airlines almost went bankrupt because it was run by the government of South Africa. But Ethiopian Airlines, because it's run as a private entity, look at what happened. They are still running. They were one of the few airlines in the world to be profitable during the COVID pandemic era. So that is why I don't believe in government running anything. It's not just because of Ethiopia, but my own research about government, whether in America, Japan, Africa, Nigeria, Ghana, Togo, South Africa, it doesn't matter. Whenever you give government that opportunity to create something like this, if you want to be successful, let government be out of it. But if you include government in managing of these industries, then you are in for a rude awakening, because it's not going to be good. Well, first of all, they're going to create these bureaucracies, and it's going to be a political appointment, positions run through the governments in power, where the political parties in power will use their big party networks to put in their cronies and their friends just to enrich themselves at the expense of the citizens of that country. So that is what I think, and that is what my proposal to the people of Uganda will be. Let the government hand over this to the private sector, have the shares in it, but let the private sector run these industries. And the government takes its dividends from the private sector. Just like a private public company. Just run it like a private public company. That's it, like a public company. Everything will be transparent. Because at the end of the day, the partnerships that the government of Uganda is going to have with these private entities will have to be successful for the private entities to make their money. And no private businessman goes into business to lose money. So they will definitely work hard to make sure that they have to make their money to pay the government also their dividends. So that is the key. Because if you look at the history of Africa, and if you look at the resources that we have come to inherit by given to us by God, and how much those resources have been wasted, this is not the time for Ugandans to let go this opportunity. This is not the time. I don't know how much corruption is going to be in terms of how this thing is going to be dealt with Museveni. Because I know that man is not a clean man. I'm not saying he's a clean man. I don't know him personally, but I also know that there's a lot of corruption in that country. But if he really have the people and the citizens of Uganda on his mind, then he should prove to the people of Uganda that this particular news is going to be there to benefit all the citizens of Uganda. Uganda needs a lot of development, infrastructure-wise. Roads, bridges, ports, social amenities, hospitals. Name them. This discovery, this $13 trillion discovery, should help this country way, way more than anything else to be able to put this country in a position to diversify its economy, so that its economy is not going to be only centered on the gold, on the minerals, but rather to become like an investment hub. Use this money to create an investment hub of East Africa and the rest of Africa, pretty much, so that the people of Uganda will have so much capital that other people of Africa will come in there to invest and also borrow money from Uganda investment banks to go to other parts of Africa and invest in other parts of Africa. So this is not just for Uganda. Even though the gold all deposits are in Uganda, but if you look at it, it's not only going to benefit Uganda, it's going to benefit Kenya as well. It's going to benefit all Tanzania. It's going to benefit all East African countries, Ethiopia, Kenya, Tanzania, and the rest of Africa as a whole. But the most important thing is, what is Museveni, the current president of Uganda, going to do? What is he going to do? Well, that's what it is. I mean, this program today is centered on this particular issue, because God has blessed Africa. He has always blessed Africa. That is the first continent, according to history, according to scientific proofs. That is the first place human ever came to be what we call Homo sapiens sapiens today. It all started in East Africa. It's no wonder you have all the animals you can find in this world in Africa. You have all the beautiful weather, 24/7 sun in Africa, Wales. It's a very blessed continent. It's the first and it's the most blessed continent. And yet still, why should the people of Africa be suffering? The people of Africa are suffering not because we are not blessed, but we are suffering because of poor, bad, and corrupt leadership. That is the only reason why we are suffering. But this is the opportunity for the people and the government of Uganda to make good use of these resources. I'm not going to speak too much about it. I devoted this topic solely for Uganda today, so I'm going to end here. And if it's Sunday, it's the Africa Weekly Talk. We always have some interesting stuff to talk about. And I'm going to come up next week and we talk about something else next week. So bless you. Peace and love, and God bless you all.